Okay, guys, I'm sorry for whatever reason you need to take the day off tomorrow or whenever you watch this video. Hopefully, it'll be um, tomorrow morning, so it'll be today, but oh well. Um, I want to go over this multiplication section. I'd actually kind of like to see how much we can get done. Now, I, of course, want you to use your calculator when doing this. So, um, but I want to show it to you guys doing it by hand. I don't mind if you guys use a calculator because average person uses a calculator anymore because it's in your pocket. I know I always say that, but it's true. Okay, so multiply by the ones digit. So what they're showing you on this is to multiply 3 times the whole number of, oops, if I put it, 3 times the whole number of 37. That equals 141. Well, that's not your whole answer because that's 3 ones times that. Then you also have to times it by 20. So to times it by 20, you have to go 2 times the 7. But you're not going to write it under the 3. You're going to write your answer under the 2 because you're not timesing it by the 1 anymore. You're timesing it by the tens column. So we go 2 times 7, which would be 14. So you'd put the 4 under the under the 2, and you'd carry the 1 up over this 4 because it's 14, and you can't put the 4 into the tens. Well, you could, but you'd want to put it into the 4 over the 4 because there is 10 or tens there. So then you go 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So you look over here, and there's 2 times 47, which is 94. Now we can just write a 0 right here because we're timesing it by the tens. So we go 1 plus 0 is 1. 4 plus 4 is 8. And there's nothing to add the 9 to, so it is just 9. So that answer should be 981. Um, Add them together and it's 10. Wait, what did I do wrong? I did 4. You know what? I'm going to redo that because I messed up somewhere. Yes, even I mess up sometimes. So let's go back and redo this whole thing. 3 times 7 is 141. 3 times 47. So now we go 2 times 7 is 4. Um, oh, yeah, then we carry the 1. Then we go 2 times 8 is, oh, I see what I messed up with. I didn't put the 9 under the 1. Okay, so 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. And you're not dealing with the 9, you're dealing with the, well, the 9 should have been added to the 1 to make a 10. So let's go back here. Put the 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. 4 plus 4 is 8. 9 plus 1 is 10. And we don't have to carry the 10 over here because it's still going to come right down here. So 1081. And that is what our answer is. Now, it's even easier for you guys. Just put it all into your calculator because, like I always say, when you get to college, you're going to have to do it with a calculator. So just enter 23 times 47 and you come up with the correct answer. more correct than I'm going to get. So, how to 3. Now, this one you're going to multiply 3 digits. Now, you would continue to multiply them the same way, but instead of having 2 to put your numbers under, you have 3. Now, again, I am going to tell you multiply 206 by 439. Okay? And when you get to college, they allow that. So, how to number 4. Find the product. Product of 670. So, we're going to right now focus on this word. This is product. That is what you call the answer to a multiplication problem. So, we had the multiplication, we had, addition, we had the sum, the total, a couple others. I'm going to write them all down for us to give for the answer. Well, when you're multiplying, it's going to ask for the product. Just remember that. So, now we go 600 times 700. You notice they put the dot there for multiply. And that dot is going to be used a lot more. You can also multiply by parentheses and parentheses, or having the numbers next to each other. And we will see that as we go through the chapter. Like right here, it says multiply 3 times 20 times 10 times 4. So what we would do is we would take 3 times 20. Well, that is 60. Then we would take 60 times 10, which that is 600. Then we would take the whole 600 times 4, because these parentheses being right next to the parentheses means we multiply. And that being right next to the having a variable right next to a number, that also means you multiply. So, apply the concept. Figure 1.13 shows the average weekly earnings of a full-time workers in the United States. Using these figures, calculate the earnings of a female full-time worker age 27 for working for 4 weeks. Multiply the number of weeks times 4 and times the amount earned for 1 week. So, what we would do, we would take that's multiply the number of weeks 4 times the amount earned. So if this 25 to 34-year-olds, I didn't quite get that. So the pink is females. So the females make $649 a week. It's not a whole lot anymore, but then we take 649 times 4. Now they're doing the times 4. They're putting 4 times, or they're putting 4 bracket or parentheses 649 in parentheses. That's to show multiplication. We are probably no longer going to use that symbol. And I tried to get us out of using that before we even got into this book, but now that we're here, this is going to be real important. And they're probably eventually not even going to use the dot a whole lot. So, estimate the product of 345 and 92. Now, estimate, it's going to want you to bring them down. So, like right here, it shows 345. That you can take this 3 and look at the number to the right. So you want to look at that 4. That 4 is less than 5, so you're going to round down. And when you round down, you just put zeros. So you put a 3 and then 0, 0. Now, this one, they show you just rounding down to 90. So you take this 9 and you look at the number to the right, and that's a 2. So that becomes a 0. Now you take 300 times 90 and you get 27,000. Again, I really don't care because you can get the exact with your calculator. You don't have to estimate. And a lot of people probably don't estimate anymore because it's kind of a waste of time. Okay, but you do know how to do it now. Okay, so next, these are some ways that you know that something's going to be multiplied. It says the phrases, the product of was used in how to 6 to indicate the operation of multiplication. So these are all going to let you know that you need to multiply. And I will make you out a sheet of all of these: multiply, divide, add, subtract. Because it's important that you know, because if something says times, you know it's going to be multiplication. So you go 8 times 4. It doesn't ask you to figure it out. It just says 8 times 4, which would be 32 if we were doing it, but I'm not going to worry about that. The product of 9 and 5. So that's another way you know it's going to be multiplication if it says product. That's one of the most important. Now, if it says multiplied by 7 multiplied by 3, it means 21. You know, you do 7 and multiply it by 3. And that's pretty self-explanatory. Now down here it says twice. Twice 6. Twice is usually doubling it, multiplying it by 2. Okay, so how to 7. Evaluate XYZ for x equals 50, y equals 2, and z equals 7. So all you're doing, because you know it says x, y, z. They're all next to each other. That means you're going to multiply them all. So you're going to take x times y times z, which would be 50 times 2 times 7. So you go 50 times 2 is 100. 100 times 7 is 700. So down here for the answer, we have 700. That's fairly easy to do, and it's easier if you have it's very easy if you have a calculator. I can do it in my head, but there's a lot of math that I can't. Okay, so just remember these, and remember if the variables are next to each other, they're going to be multiply. Usually if it's divide, they'll have a slash. But we're not going to worry about that because we are not in division yet. Okay. As with addition, there are properties of multiplication. So, I want you guys to focus in on this. I will make you a cheat sheet with these. But remember these if you need to go back on them. So the multiplication property of 0. No matter how many times you want to times 0, it is 0. Because if you have 0, it's always going to be 0 in multiplication. Addition, it was you still had whatever number. Well, multiplication, if I have $0, I don't care if I times it by 1,000,000. I'm never going to have the $0. Or if I have, or I will never have the $1,000,000. But if I have $1,000,000 0 times, that means I'm going to have $0,000,000. It's quite as simple as that. Now, we have the multiplication property of 1. Now, whatever you times by 1 is going to be itself. So let's say I have one $5 bill. I'm going to have $5. If I have one $5, I'm always going to have $5. Now, if I had two $5, well, that would be different. But that's not the property of 1. 1 is if I have one of something, I'm only going to have one of it. Now, if I have 5 ones, well, that means I'm going to have 5 ones. And no matter how many you have, if you have 1,000,000 ones, I'm going to have 1,000,000. And it's still timesing a number by 1 is always going to be itself. You need to remember this, and I will, when I get the chance, make you out a chart of all of these properties as well. Now, the commutative property of multiplication is very similar to the commutative property of of addition, because we had a plus b equals b plus a. Well, a times b equals b times a. And the example they give is 4 times 9 equals 36. Well, if you reverse those to 9 times 4, it still equals 36. Now, the associative property of multiplication is a times b times c can be written as a times b times c. And it just means you can move the parentheses around and it will still be the same answer. The associative is a little bit harder, but just remember it's basically the same as the commutative. You have more numbers and you have parentheses. Okay, next we are going to go on to actually, I thought this was only multiplication. This section is actually multiplication and division. So maybe we'll get through this a little bit faster. Okay, so, and if you guys need to pause it and think about what I'm saying, go right ahead. Okay, so by the what is the solution of equation 5x equals 5? Well, any number times itself times 1 is going to equal itself. So 5 times 1 equals 5. And that is important to understand. Okay, so next we go how to 9. Is 7 a solution of the equation 3m equals 21? So replace m with 7, like it says right there. So just put a 7 in right there, and you can use your calculator. The answer is yes, 7 is a solution because 3 times 7 equals 21. I learned that when I was younger, and it was one that stuck with me. It's just like if you double it and say 6 times 7, double the 3, it becomes 42, which is double 21. So just a little bit of trivia there. So figure 1.14 shows the average monthly savings of individuals in 7 different countries. Use the graph for example 1 and you try it 1. Okay, so we're going to go here to example 1. Use figure 1.14 to determine the average annual savings of individuals in Japan. So we go Japan, they have quite a bit of savings, so $291. So is that a month? Um, Individual savings, 7 countries. Use the graph. Oh, yep, there it is. Monthly savings. So, in Japan, they save $291 a month. Now, there's 12 months in a year, so we just take 12 times 291. Now, if you guys want to, you could do it like this. You could do 2 times 1 is 1. Or no, is 2. Because any number times 1 is itself. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 19 is 18. So we have the 8 and we carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus the 1 is 5. Then we go over and we put them under the 1 because that's the tens. 1 times 1 is 1. And basically 1 times 291 would be 291. Then we add those together. And we get our answer. I would just suggest typing 12 into your calculator, hitting the times button, then 291. Okay, so let's do the you try it. According to figure 1.14, average monthly savings in France. France, they have $175. Then we just do that times 12 again. So we would go 2 times 5 would be 10. 2 times 7 would be 14. Plus 1 would be 15. And then we would go 2 times 1 would be 2. So it would be 3. So then we would do 1 times 175 would be 175. So we go 0, 5, 5. We go 0, carry the 1. 4, 7. That would be 11. Carry the 1. So a year they would save up $2,100, which might seem like not a lot of money for a whole year of savings, but a lot of people don't do that much. So, whole numbers. So, it wants to know estimate the product of 287 and 49. So, basically, you would round 287 would go to 300. 49 would would round to 50. Then you would times that. So it would be 3 times 5 would be 15 plus 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So we have 150,000. That works. And when you're multiplying by a 10 or 100, you just add that many zeros onto the end. Okay, so estimate the product of 800 or 8,704 and 93. We're not going to do that, but it would probably be 8,000. We'd actually round that up to 9,000 because we would go to the 8 and look at next to it is a 7. That would up this 8 to a 9. Then we would do 93. That would be, we would take the 9 and would look at the number to the right, which is 3, which is less than 5, and we would bring it down to 90. So we would go 90 times um, 90 times 9,000. So we would take 9 times 9 is 81. I'm not doing this correctly, but this is why you estimate and round, because it's easier. So you go 9 times 9 is 81. Then you just count the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we go 3 over this way, we put a comma. So our answer would be 810,000. Pretty easy still to do. Now, it wants us to evaluate 3AB. So that would be 3 times A times B. So if A equals 10, we would take 3 times 10, which would be 30. And B equals 40. So we take 30 times 40, and our answer would be 1,200. And we could do that by, we would know that 3 times 4 is 12. Then we would count 1, 2, 1, 2 zeros. That's as easy as that is. So we can do the rest of these, but again, I don't see it being that important because I want you guys to remember to use your calculators. So, like for example, 4. What is 800 times 300? Well, we could do 8 times 3 is 24. Then we would go 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So it should be 240,000, which that's what they have right there. So you get through a lot of these examples. Now, next is an exciting one on your calculator, and I will get out the calculator and the same calculator that you guys have, and I will do this using the calculator. So what we're dealing with here is multiplying 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. We can do that a lot simpler. We can just do 4 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the 5th power. Now, you can do that on your calculator by, let's see, let's go 4 to the 5th power equals 1,024. I think that would be the correct answer. So, what you do is you look at your calculator right below the off button. There is a Y x. Looks kind of like that. A little bit better y. Here I will erase that, and I will rewrite my y. Yx. So you would enter 4. You would enter 4, and then you would hit the yx button, and then you would enter 5. So I'm going to write this out. 4. And then you hit the yx button. Then you hit 5. And your answer should be 1024. I don't see that on here, but it would work. Okay, so we're going to do that again on this part. We were on page 47. So this one is an example of 2 to the first power. 2 to the first power is just going to be 2. Now, 2 times 2, we go 2 squared. Now, let's see, if we're just doing squared on our calculator, I know there is, right below the COS, it's right below LOG, stands for logarithm. We might get into this stuff later on. So we go LOGCOS, right under that it says X2. So we hit 2, and then we hit the X2 button. Oops, we go 2, then the X2 button, and that equals 4. So 2 times 2 is 4. Now we go 2 to the third power. Well, we can go to the third power by hitting, well, right now we're dealing with 2, so we're going 2, then we hit the second button, then we hit 1. And that gives us 2 to the third power. So you hit the second button, which is green, and then you hit 1. And it uses what's written in green above the 1, which is x to the third. Now, when you start getting up into like 2 to the fourth or 2 to the fifth power, then you just have to use the y to the x. So you have 4, hit the y to the x button, and then 5. Or down here you would hit 2, then you would hit the yx button, and then you would enter 5, and it would give you 2 to the fifth power. You can go up big time on powers. And that's how they figure out distance to stars. And usually then it's by times 10 to the whatever power. Okay. So now here we're using 10 to the powers. So 10 to the power of 1 is 10. You go to the hundreds, well, you go 10 squared is hundreds. 10 cubed to the third power is called cubed. U equal 1,000. I do not know what 10 to the fourth power is, but for this, you would hit 10. You would enter 10, and then you would hit the YX button, and then you would enter 4. And, oops, yeah, this went off on me. 10, y to the x, 4 equals 10,000, which is right there. So, basically, you just keep doing that. it's 10 to whatever power. Like this one's 10 to the 6th power. Well, that puts you way out over here in the millions. So, again, it's easy enough if you use your calculator and realize what it's asking. Now, could you say, well, let's take 5 times 5 times 5? You could if you want to hit 5, the times button, 5, then the times button, you can do that. But you could also hit 5, the YX button, and then 3. Or you could hit 5, second button, 1. I don't really care so much for the second button and 1 and stuff. I would just as well, for most of the time, use the YX button. The YX button. Remember that. It's right under the off button. And why is it so apparent? Because you're going to use it often. Okay? So, example 7. We have 7 times 7 times 7, 4 times 4. So, we are going, actually, okay, evaluate variable expression c to the 3rd power for c equals 4. So, you're just using that to replace c with 4. Down here, it looks like I think all they want you to do here is simplify. So, how many 7s do we have? Well, we have 3 7s. So we go 7 to the 3rd. Now, we're going to take that times, because we're still doing times, 4, and we've only got 2 4s, so it's 4 squared. Okay, so 7 to the 3rd times 4 to the 2nd. You can do that with your calculator. Not hard to do. Okay, so now it says 8 cubed equals 8 times 8 times 8 equals 64 times 8 equals 512. You're just evaluating there. 8 to the 8 cubed. So we can figure that out. We can go 8. I'm going to use that. The YX button equals 64. So that equals 64. So now we're taking 64 times 8. And what is 64 times 8? I'm going to assume it's 512. Just going to assume that because I don't want to do the math right now. But if you guys want to do it, go right ahead. Now, this one says evaluate 6 to the 4th. So you hit 6, the YX button, and then hit 4. Do that on your own. This is high level math, guys. I am so proud of you guys for making it this far. This is stuff that you don't study in elementary school. You study this stuff in middle school and high school. So, evaluate x to the 4th y squared when x equals 1. So, x to the 4th would still be 1 because you can times 1 as many times as you want and you're always going to have 1. And y equals to the 3rd. So y squared, that would be y times y, which would be 9. Your solution should be 10. Now, they want you to write that out. Go right ahead. Okay? Take as much time as you need. So, let's do apply the concept. 4 friends want to share equally the cost of a $24 birthday present. Hard for me to see those E's. Present for their friend Bianca. from the diagram below, each friend shares the cost of $6. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 friends. They've split up $24 into each using 6. Now, this is a symbol that you might not see. We are going into division right now. So 4, and this means divided. So actually what this means is you take 24 divided by 4 equals 6. Now, how do you figure that out? Well, 24 is a pretty basic one because it's 4 times 6. But remember, whenever you see this symbol here, that means divide. Now, the radical symbol is fairly similar. It looks like this. It is not divide. So, and if you see that symbol, man, we'll get to it eventually. So, now, division is also represented by the symbol dot dot. Now, this is a fraction. You have your numerator up here and your denominator down here, and you have a fraction, or the dash. Remember that, because that will be important later on. Now again, you have over here, you have 54 divided by 9 equals 6. But remember, this symbol means division, and you hit this button on your calculator to divide. Now, maybe if we get you into a little bit higher end calculators, when we get into full algebra, you might have to use you might have to use a slash mark for your multiply or divide. I don't remember what the TI-83 has, but or when we're using our Papa Math, that has you actually have to hit the slash mark for divide. So, anyways, we go on. 0 divided by 4. Well, if you have 0, you can't divide it. So it is divided by 4. 4 divided by 4, if you want to divide something, if you have 4 gumballs and you want each friend to have a gumball and you have 4 friends, each friend is going to get 1. So whenever you divide a number by itself, it is always going to be 1. Now, if you take a number divided by 1, it's always going to be the number. So, and that is actually a way of creating a fraction. So if you want to put 4 into a fraction, you put it divided by 1, because that's going to equal 4. Okay, so in 4 divided by 0, it says it is undefined, because you can't divide something up into 0 pieces. And your calculator, make sure I'm not lying, if you push 4 divided by 0, your calculator says error. Why? Because you can't divide something up into no pieces. So, just to let you know, so don't struggle. If you see a number that says divided, if you come across 1 million and you want to divide it up into 0 pieces, just write 0 or undefined. Okay. Division properties of 0. A equals 0. 0 divided by A equals 0. If A does not equal 0, A divided by A is 1. So these are the properties. This is 0 means it's going to be 0. If you cannot divide 0 up into pieces. Now, if a doesn't equal 0, a divided by a, because you can't say 0 divided by 0. But if you take 1 divided by 1, it will equal 1. If you take 1 million divided by 1 million, it equals 1, because you're always going to have 1. Okay, so um, um, a divided by 1 equals a. So any number divided by 1 other than 0 is going to be that number. So if I take 4 divided up into 1 pieces, you're going to have 4 1 pieces. Okay, a divided by 0 is undefined, or your calculator will give you error. Okay, so these are showing us the fractions, or the fractions as divisible. 0 divided by 7 equals 0. Number 2, we have 2 divided by 2 equals 1. We have 6 divided by 1 equals 6. 5 divided by 0 is undefined, because there is no way of dividing something up into 0 pieces. Okay, so now we go how to 11 illustrates division of larger whole numbers by 1 digit. So if you have a number like 3,192 divided by 4, you take 4 and you divide it into a reasonable number. So we're going to divide 4 into 31. Well, you know it'll go in 7 times. So you go 7 times 4 is 28. So you write 28 here. Then you go minus, because you want to find out how many is left over. So you want to find out the difference. So we go 31 minus 28 equals 3. Then we drop the 9, and now we go 44 divided by 39. 4 divided by 39 would be 9. Then you go 9 times 4 is 36. Then you would have 3. Then you drop the 2. 32 divided by 4 is 8. So 798 should be our answer, which is right there. So again, what do I want you guys to do? Enter 3,192 in your calculator and divide it by 4. Because you know what? It's not worth the struggles. But if you do find this interesting, try it. Keep persisting on it. But remember, you can use your calculator. I don't really need to go over that discussion again, but I will if we need to. Okay, so this is apply the concept. A gardener has 14 plants to put into 3 flats. Each flat holds 4. From the diagram, we see that after the gardener plants 4 plants in each flat, there are 2 plants left over. The 2 plants left over are called remainder. Now, I will also show you how to put remainders into fractions. But let's figure this out. He wants to divide up 14 plants into 3 containers. So you do 14 divided by 3. Well, you can get 4 out of each. So then you go 4 times 3 is 12. Then you go minus 12, and you still have 2 left over. And that's the remainder of 2. So you can write it as remainder 2. You can also at the same time change it to a fraction. and then your fraction would be 2 over 3. So, again, and if you do it decimal points, it would probably give you 2 points, or it would probably give you 3.666666666, and at the end it'll say 7 because it rounds up. Okay, so how to 12. Again, it says 389 divided by 24. I would just do that. Now, it does say remainder 5. Your calculator is never going to give you a remainder. It might give you the remainder as a fraction, but usually it's going to do a decimal because computers work well with decimals. Okay, so this is an important one. I will add this into the guided notes. The quotient of is how you say the quotient of 8 and 4. That means 8 divided by 4. Or it might say divided by. But quotient is if you see the word quotient, it's going to be talking about a division problem. And if it says divided by, it says 9 divided by 3, well, that means you're going to divide. Okay. Round each number to its highest place value. So, round each number to its highest place value. So, we would take 5. We would go look to the number to the right, which would be 6. So we do 5, 0, 0, 0, 0. Oh, no, wait. That was rounding up. So it should be 60,000. My mistake. Okay, then we is divided by 28. Well, let's round that up. We have a 2 there and we have an 8. That means we round up. So it is 60,000 divided by 30. You can figure that out. I myself, I could do 6 divided by 3 is 2, and then, yeah, I myself would use a calculator in an instant like that. There is nothing wrong with that. So, evaluate x divided by y for x equals 4,284 divided by 18. So you would just do 4,284 divided by 18. What would you get? It's you'd get 238. But I employ or I'm asking you guys to do the math. Again, it's not hard. You just have to remember that this line there means divide. And this line meaning divide, you're going to see a lot more on modern math than you're going to see this symbol. But you still need to know that this symbol means divide. And we do that a lot on Ames web tests. I am gonna send Judy some tests someday on Ames Web, and I'm going to let you guys use calculators. They are 8-minute tests. I just want to see how good you guys can do at them. So this is on the 5th grade test, which most of my students are on. So let's do 7,694. 7,694 divided by 24. You guys can do that on your own. You know, a number like this, I most everyone would use a calculator to solve it. So do not feel bad. Okay, so figure 1.15 shows a household annual expense of 44,000. Use this graph to for example 13 and you try it 13. So, let's see what the example is. Um, the annual expenses for housing is 18,000. So you take 18,000 divided by 12 and you have $1,500 a month for your house. That's about what I have to pay right now. So it's $18,000 a year I spend. That isn't so appeasing to my eyes, but it's what you have to do in today's world. So evaluate x divided by y for x equals 342 and y equals 9. Remember, just plug in the x and the y in here. That you guys are learning how to use variables. This is going to be so helpful in life. Okay, so the factor numbers and and find the prime factorization of a number. I am not real big into this because you guys are using calculators, but I will go over to it. Okay, find the factors of 42. So, you find the factors. 42 divided by 1 is 42. 42 divided by 2 is 21. 42 divided by 3 equals 14. 42 divided by 4 will not divide into 42 evenly. So it is not a factor. 5 will not go into it. So 42 divided by 6. 6 and 7 are factors of 42. Then down here, 7 and 6 are both factors of 42. So 42 are just the number, or the factors are just the numbers that will go into both numbers. That is important if you're not using a calculator. Again, I don't find it to be that important. You're not going to be finding factors of numbers very often. It is a good thing to know, but say like the factors of 2. Well, you only have 1 and 2. Those are the factors of 2. The factors of 9. You have 9 and 1. And then you have 3. Those are the only factors. That's the thing that bugs me about 27. 27 does have factors. It's not a prime number. It has 4 and 9. No, it's got 3 and 9, right? Yeah, 3 and 9. I'm just not a big fan of the number. I think it should be a prime number. Okay, right here. A prime number is natural number greater than 1 that has exactly 2 natural number factors, 1 and the number. So, number 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, 31, 20 or 37, 41, 43, 47 are all prime numbers that no two numbers other than themselves and 1 are the only numbers that will go into them. So, how-tos. Again, it's showing you how to divide. So 2 into 90 is 45. Those are, you guys can memorize those if you want. They are factors. 90 actually has a whole bunch of factors to it. You have 2, 3, 3, 5, or 2. And you got 2 times 45. You got 10 times 9, or it's 3 squared. I don't know. It's, again, guys, I don't find factors are really going to help you out a whole lot unless you have a question come up which asks you about factors. I often forget factors and powers. I get them confused. It's factors and multiples. Okay, so find the prime factorization of 84. Well, it's 84 equals 2 times 2 times 3 times 7 equals 2 to the 7th power. Again, it's not something that I find so vital. Find all the factors of 30, 40. Okay. So, next we're going to go into 141 divided by 3 equals 47. Just use your calculators. Okay. To solve application problems and use formulas. So, in section 1.2, we defined perimeter as the distance around. So, we have our distance around is going to be the perimeter. Now, we're going to, I assume, find out the perimeter. P equals 2L plus 2W, which, yeah, just you have 2 times the width and 2 times the length. So you have this length and this length, this width and this width. So that's 2 times. Now, down here, you have how to use the formula for. So now we're going to find out how many squares there are in the shape. I'm not going to do. To find that out, you take 32 times 16. Or down here, you have 5 times 5, which technically is why it says 5 squared. Why is it 5 squared? Because you're finding out the area inside a squared number. So you do 5 times 5, which is 25. So the perimeter of a square is P is 4S. So the perimeter would equal 4 times the sides. So it would be, the perimeter would be 4 times, because you're having 4 times 5. So, actually, and up here, this was still talking about perimeter. So we take 2 times 32, which would give you this plus this, and be 2 times 16, which would be this plus this. 2 times 16. Now, I really don't sweat that a whole lot. Okay. So, use the formula for perimeter of a square. So, we just take this, is the side is 28. Well, we have 4 sides, so it would be times 4. And you would have your answer. So, here it's talking about the area. So this was 1 centimeter on each side. It would be 1 centimeter or 1 inch squared. This would be 1 centimeter squared. Now down here you have 4 and 2. So you would do 4 times 2, which would give you 8 centimeter squares. We could count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the area of a rectangle is 20. This would be 25 times 10. And that would give you how many cubes are inside this for 1 foot cubes. Okay, so again, you're just doing 8. And since each of these are 8, you just hit 8 times 8. Or you could hit 8 and the squared button, which is under the COS. And that would give you the number squared. So multiplication per. These are words that will let you know that it is multiplication per. How many altogether? Each. What is the total number of every? Every is another word that would mean multiplication. So I am going to go down here again. This is draw a diagram. Again, this is just wanting you to figure out area is L times W, length times width. Solution, R equals D divided by T. What is that asking for? Right there is, at what rate of speed would you need to travel in order to drive a distance of 294 miles in 6 hours? So your rate would be distance divided by time, and that would equal your rate. So you would take 294 miles divided by 6. And then it would say you would need to travel at a speed of 49 miles per hour to be able to drive this far in 6 hours. That's actually pretty slow. Okay. So now we are on to the exercises. So for the first one, it's how many sixes are those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we would have 6 to the 5th power. And that's how you would read that. So I will go over this more with you guys. I want you to try doing some of this on your own. It's quite a long video I recorded today, but I think it's important. We will go back over this when we meet next, probably on Friday. I want you guys to watch over this video and be able to do some of this. Like here, number 11 says multiply. Well, it's 9 in parentheses and 127 in parentheses. That just means you multiply them. So you go 9 times 127. You can do that with your calculator. I wouldn't do it by hand. I'll be honest with you guys. So on number 15, you have the dot. The dot means multiply as well. For number 19, you have the X. The X means multiply. I seriously doubt we're going to be using the X for much longer, unless we have a problem like this. And then they will use the X because you put the dot there and doesn't make as much sense. But if you're timesing them by each other like this, in the past we've used the x, but we're not. We're going to use the dot. So you guys have fun with this. Do some of this and we'll go over some of it. Like this one says C times C. What does C equal? Oh, write them in form. So this would be C times C would be C squared. And this would be D cubed. So just study over all of this, and I am actually going to write my face down, click save so that we will go back to this point. And guys, have a great day tomorrow, and I will see you then, or see you guys in a while. So, why isn't this exiting? I gotta go back to here, go down, and go Screencastify. Let's go stop. Stop. Oh, I'm gonna drag that down then.